one thing we have to be ready for as coaches is to correct mistakes. But during a game, I think we have to be careful about how we do that. Lots of times the game's real competitive, we can get a little fired up, and the way that the words come out of our mouth can put kids on the defensive. So one thing I've found over time is if a mistake is made, the first thing to check is just, do you know what happened? Just ask your player, do you know? And what that means is, have you already figured out what you did wrong? And if the kid says yes, then the only thing you want to tell them is just, okay, process it. In other words, if you know what you did wrong, figure out the correction, keep playing. And that might be all you need a lot of the times. But if your player says to the answer to the question, do you know? And he says no, so in other words, he really doesn't know what he did wrong, you've got to figure out when you want to explain it to him. And your answer might be later, or if you're feeling good and can talk to them objectively, you just explain briefly what they needed to do. You needed to back that play up, or you need to make sure you get your feet underneath you before you throw and not lose your arm slot. But if you're going to make a correction, make sure that you make the correction in a game calmly and in a way that doesn't make a kid go from bad to worse. The nice thing about mistakes is you can be jotting down during a game the things your kids aren't doing, and that starts to develop your practice plan for the next time you practice. If a single happens to left and people don't know where they're supposed to go, if they're out of position, you start making notes, because your students don't know what the teacher hasn't taught. And a lot of mistakes are just showing you as a coach what you haven't covered enough, what you haven't done enough. It's not really their fault, it's not your fault, but the only way to get better is to let mistakes drive your practice plans. So if your kids are swinging, all of them, at a lot of bad pitches, maybe you need to work the very next day on just pitch discipline and how to lay off bad pitches. But mistakes really build progress if you just use them as the ways to develop your practice plan.